My friends, hello and welcome to Perfect Dark SpeedLore, the series where we examine the world record history and progression of times in the game Perfect Dark, and we study the players who have set these amazing world records through the lens of their speedruns and the progression of records on the stage. Tonight is indeed the return of Perfect Dark SpeedLore. It's been, I want to say, 2, maybe 3 years. 3 years, can it be, since we last did a Perfect Dark SpeedLore episode, aside from the year in reviews, which we sometimes do. It's been a while, and I thought that what better night than tonight to bring it back. And I thought, what better level of Perfect Dark's 20 levels than Air Force One Agent, the level that I probably know the most about in Perfect Dark. Of course, Perfect Dark, video game for the Nintendo 64, developed by Rare. Many call it a spiritual successor to GoldenEye, and it is ranked on the same website, theelite.net, as the GoldenEye speedruns. Of course, if you're here, you almost certainly already know all of this. And let's get into it. The world record history and progression of Air Force One Agent. Now, I guess to set up this level, Air Force One Agent, there's at least a little bit of sort of plot overview that we'll have to go through. I mean, you could do an entire episode, SpeedLore episode, of just the plot of Perfect Dark, because there's a lot. At some point, you're kind of involved. There's some shady organizations. There's 2 different alien races, and at this point in the game, you are trying to protect the president of the United States from the bad aliens, and the good aliens are helping you out somewhat. On this mission, you've boarded the Air Force One plane, and the bad aliens, the Skedar, are trying to take it over, and you have to prevent this from happening. So, there are 3 objectives on Air Force One Agent. 1, locate the president. 2, get the president to the escape capsule. And 3, detach UFO from Air Force One. So you can see that a UFO is going to try to come and cause some mayhem on Air Force One. That would not be very good or handy. That'd be a bit scary. We don't want to see that happen. We may actually see the objectives completed not in chronological order. I wonder, I'm thinking about GoldenEye, and I guess that isn't always the case in GoldenEye either, but sometimes it is. Anyhow, I found this ancient run from a speedrunner named Eric Renzulli from 2014, which I know nothing about this man, but I appreciate him posting this video, which demonstrates how any beginner may have played this level 20 years ago. Let's take a look. And I love the VCR play effects there. So you start out, you've boarded Air Force One. So he's going to take an elevator from the basement of Air Force One, sort of to the top. Now, interestingly, the developers didn't have any sort of knowledge of what the real Air Force One looked like. Of course, I'm certain it's classified information, but they watched the movie Air Force One. So here he's visited the president.
Mr. President, you're in danger. Trent is trying to kidnap you.
This is great.
You can't make accusations like that without evidence. I assume that you have some.
That's like
This
one of the
is a
most...
recording of a meeting between Trent and the other conspirators.
It seems overwhelming. I'm in your hands. What do we do now?
The I assume you have some is some of the most iconic text line in this entire game.
This is the escape pod. Follow me.
So that mine was thrown to detach the UFO. That little tunnel is the UFO coming to, board the plane, and that mine has detached it. That's interesting if Rainbow Six ripped off this level. So then you have to eliminate the guards, get down here. the president is kind of, you know, running around a little, kind of towards you, but a little bit aimlessly until you open this door, then and get in here. Then he starts running towards this escape pod, Objective 2. And once he gets in there, the level ends. He's in the escape pod. Objective 2 completed. And we can see Air Force One Agent 142 by Eric Renzulli. So, very nice stuff, and thanks again to Eric Renzulli for this time. You know, that's interesting that I guess Rainbow Six completely ripped off this level. That's really crazy. The developers obviously couldn't get a map of Air Force One, so they watched the movie and based the level after what they saw in the movie, which is actually a pretty interesting bit of side lore as well. You know, we're getting through a lot of interesting side lore here. But you can see that's how you play the level. It plays like a Perfect Dark or GoldenEye level. Run through, do your objectives, get to the end. Objective 3 was done before 2. Again, that's probably not super common, but probably not uncommon either. Let's watch another example run, because Renzulli didn't use some items that you have in your arsenal, or some tricks that are very widely known now about. So let's watch this Trouble Clef run from about the same era. It's about 40 seconds faster, 102. And let's see what we can learn here. Oh, that's really interesting, John Dark. Yeah, our old pal Trouble Clef Toozer.
Have you thought any more about that proposal I gave you, sir?
My answer remains the same. I'm sorry, Trent, but no.
So,
The President's room is on this level, Joanna.
what he's done there is something called speech skipping. There is a lot of something that Perfect Dark has that GoldenEye does not have is actual speech, right? GoldenEye just has text boxes, and so sometimes that speech takes up time. And so if you can pause on the frame that the speech starts, you can end up skipping that length of speech. Now, it is a bit more complicated than that, and we're going to get into that in a future episode sometime. You know, it's not as drawn out as this one. So we will get into that in detail, but for this episode, you just have to know that there are a few speeches that can be skipped if you pause, you know, on roughly the frame on which the speech begins. And that's what Troubleclef did there, and he's going to do it again later on in a few seconds here. Although sometimes you don't even hear the speech come through. In this case, he heard the speech. In other cases, you may not even hear any of the speech at all.
The President's room is on this level, Joanna.
Who are you, young lady?
Mr. President, you're in danger. Trent is trying to kidnap you.
You can't make accusations like that without evidence. I assume that you have some.
It's very interesting that Troubleclef punched that guard. I wasn't exactly expecting him to punch that guard. It is something that we will examine a little bit later on in the episode.
This is a recording of a meeting between Trent and the other conspirators.
It seems overwhelming.
And he did also get another speech skip in there as well.
Without evidence. I assume that you have some.
I think, or yeah, so this is, okay.
This is a recording of a meeting
He
between Trent and
he
the other
tried to skip that this is a recording, but he failed. That obviously would save about 3 seconds. That's just a rough guess. You know, this is a recording of the... So if you're able to pause and catch that speech, you want to save the time that it took to hear it. He did not do that successfully, which is why this is a beginner intro run. But now, he's turned on an item called a combat boost. The combat boost slows down time. And so, you know, it's a well-known thing that if you can slow down time, you can play more optimally. There have been many speedruns throughout history that were cheated this way. There was a famous video about Trackmania that explored this in detail, went mega viral in the past year or two. And so the combat boost isn't a cheat in Perfect Dark, it's an in-game option. But by using the combat boost, you get to slow down time, you get to play more optimally throughout the rest of the stage, and the combat boost only lasts 10 seconds, and you have 2 of them. So you can play either 10 seconds slow-mo, normal for a few seconds, then 10 more slow, or you can do 20 seconds in a row slow-mo. Up to you. Completely up to you. I believe it too, because Flicker, it's a great point. He says, I've read that you actually move faster while boosted as well. It's probably true because, like, the exact timing probably wasn't perfect. Like, if time is slowed down, you know, twice as slow, you may not be, your movement may not be twice as slow. You may be 1.8 times as slow, and so you actually are faster moving that way. So yeah, it in theory was programmed not to jazz-worthy, but it probably does a little bit in ways that, you know, we may never truly know. Maybe we will. Maybe someone will kind of sort this out a little bit later on, so I guess we'll find out. So there are two examples runs, and the first one was kind of a clean playthrough. This one by Treble Clef was a little bit more of what you would expect from a speedrun, in that you attempt to skip speech, and you use the combat boosts to slow down time and play optimally. And then at the end, we can see also he's like pushing the president along, you see, especially up here. The president is moving towards the end because you've entered that final room, and he's kind of trying to nudge the president along to get him to move quicker towards the end. That's a great point. That's exactly, you're right. Some keen eyes, as Flicker mentions, will have noticed that Treble Clef's run began the level in a different place than Eric Renzulli's run. And we're going to show exactly why. So Perfect Dark has a few of these sort of continuity situations where, based on what you do on a previous level, it affects what happens on the start of the next level. So for example, the level before this is Air Base, right? You get sent up to the air base in Alaska. The president is going to fly to Norway for like a G20 meeting. And you're on the air base, and you have to board Air Force One secretly. Of course, it's a video game. So this is Airbase Agent Ilu's record. Of course, this isn't the Airbase Agent SpeedLore, so we're not going to watch the whole thing. But we see that Ilu boards the plane on Agent from the bottom of the plane, the bottom of the ladder, leading up to the Air Force One. As a result, if you board from the bottom, you'll start where Renzulli started, which is the bottom of Air Force One. See, he's in the basement. He climbed the ladder into the basement. However, if you finish Airbase by going in the kind of more executive landing, which is done on Perfect Agent. So here's Lake Demon's Perfect Agent run. What happens is you start in the middle of the plane. And you don't have to do this like every run. That'd be so annoying. So he kind of went on the more, you know, executive landing area, entrance area. And so that gets you to start the level, you know, on the main floor of the plane.
My answer remains the same. I'm sorry, Trent, but no.
Right, you start up here. And so that's kind of cool. There's a few other differences of this sort that we will explore throughout Perfect Dark SpeedLore. So yeah, obviously, what you'll do if you're doing an Air Force One session is you'll play through Air Base once, enter through the, you know, executive area, and then all of your runs that session on Air Force One will be starting there. On the other difficulties of the stage, you may want to start in the basement as well, and that's something that we might get to in good time. So pretty much with the rest of the night, we're going to see starting in this spot, for sure. There's nothing to do in the basement on Agent. You're closer to the president here, Objective 1, so, you know, all that good stuff. The first historical account of a time on the stage is actually a 109 by Endgamer, so just hold that thought for a second. 2 weeks later, we saw this 106 by Wes 007, Wes McKinney, the, you know, founder of the rankings, and now, you know, an ostensibly world-famous programmer. I mention every time the benevolent dictator for life of the pandas library. I have no idea what that means, but programmers know exactly what it means. And they go, wow, that's crazy. Yes, I've heard, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard he makes an appearance in the Golden Era video, new documentary about GoldenEye. And so Wes was more of a GoldenEye player, but of course, in these early days, he probably managed to get, you know, a couple of Perfect Dark records very early on in his career. And this is one of these as well. June 20th, 2000. 22 long years ago. Believe it or not, that's a long time ago. Wow, I wonder if you're watching and you're young, if you were born after that date, make a comment, because that's pretty epic. So Wes got 106, and the time, you know, drop 104, 102. Endgamer would get a 58. Now, Endgamer, let's just watch Endgamer's 58 and see what happens. I believe there's no audio here. Let's take a look. So Endgamer runs up. It pauses a couple times here. It's hard to tell if he's speech skipping because, you know, we don't have the audio. Or what those early pauses were doing. So it seems here like he's trying to get the speech skip, for sure. And so my guess on these early days of Perfect Dark speedrunning is that the speech skip, which saves, you know, probably 2 or 3 seconds, is the main thing that brought the time down from 106 territory towards 58 territory. So Endgamer chucks the mine here. Oh, that's funny, John Dark. For some reason, I thought it was like 2021, but that's kind of funny. And so Endgamer's going to cruise through the level. Yeah, so it's like a very primitive speech skip. Flickr says, looks like they want the speech skips, but also making sure they have room to move down the hallway. And that's probably true. It's probably a very primitive speech skip, and we probably won't see this fully sort of sought out cleanly until a few years later here. So let's see. Endgamer runs in there, blasts these guards. So really the goal is get to the basement room as fast as you can. This room here. Because at this point is when... Oh, and he doesn't even enter, so like they didn't know this at the time, really, to enter the room as soon as you can. Because at this point is when the president starts like running towards the escape pod. Like, really, that should be your priority. Get there as soon as you can. Oh my god, that was insane. So Endgamer just stays in the basement and lets the president run down. And gets 58. Which was an untied world record at the time. September 2nd, 2000. And, you know, Endgamer, I kind of forget how much I have or haven't discussed Endgamer in these lores, but you know, he was sort of the, I don't even know how you describe it. He was always an admin of the forums and rankings for a long time when I joined, for like many years, but he was sort of more the symbolic admin, the symbolic leader. Some people kind of call him the godfather of the community, and him and I were often foils of one another, you know, because I was, you know, me doing my, you know, my thing back in the day, you know, and he would kind of always be slow to act and make, you know, what I considered improvements or changes to the site and the rankings and so on. And so my kind of, you know, ENTP style trolling often got in conflict with his sort of symbolic leadership of the community. You know, he would, I mean, not even like the George Washington of the elite Jazzworthy, more of like, you know, someone who founded a business a long time ago and is now still like the president of that business, but like does absolutely nothing, and people under them, you know, VPs and executives do all the work, but they're still president, and their say is still kind of reigns supreme. And so they can affect change, but they, like, don't. Almost like a patriarch might be a better way to phrase it. And so by the time I joined the community in 0506, he had been long, gone from playing, which is like normal, right? He was more of a normal gamer. He wouldn't play games for 5, 10, 20 years after release. He played Perfect Dark for about a year after the release, which is like a normal thing to do. And he got a couple world records, couple untieds like this one. I think this one might actually be his only proven video untied, actually. But of course, we'll get into that more in future episodes. It's the only one that comes off the top of my head that he has a proven video of. And so one thing that I would always kind of question him, debate him about is like, do you even know any world records in this game anymore? 5, 6, 7 years later. Like, how can you be the patriarch, the godfather of this community when you like know so little about the games you're administrating, right? That was kind of my, Voltaire style questioning this authority. And he never even would answer, right? Who was he to be challenged by a young troll poster, right? He just sat there in his ivory tower lording over the elite. And so we butted heads many times. We got along some other times as well. And all these years later, I do look back fondly at my time with Endgamer, all of our interactions. He still pops his head in every now and then in the community, but certainly after 20 years of not playing the game, his interest has waned more and more. He still has friends and whatnot he's made from the community, which is nice. I hear they hang out in a Discord server called Ancient Lake, a reference to Diddy Kong Racing, because they're so ancient, and old at this point. They've been around forever. So hey, it's a very rare moment in the lore when we would see an Endgamer untied world record, but here it is. Believe it or not, an Endgamer untied world record. And it's actually kind of interesting. I'm gonna just pull up how many people had like 58 as a tied record, because it was actually a lot. And we can see here, because the level runs in slow-mo, it often gets a lot of ties. Like this had 13 ties in 2001. And like, you got to think of it, right? When it's slowed down, the pace of the level is like cut in half. It stretches out seconds, so you're more likely to get ties, right? Like, getting 58 seconds on this level isn't really like getting 58 seconds on other levels. It's more like getting, say 58 or 59, and the time gets compressed by the combat boost into the tie. So I think throughout history, we'll see that this is one of the most tied levels, and that trend will probably continue. So another guy who got 58 was this gentleman by the name of Sukram. Got a 58, and of course he just had picture proof at the time. And I thought this was kind of a cool thing to show. This was it. This was almost above and beyond proof at the time of getting a record. A nice picture of his CRT displaying the end screen. And Sukram we'll get into more in a future episode. I think Defection Perfect Agent, if we ever get there. I mean, that one's a doozy. So, but yeah, Sukram was interesting fellow. This is a cool sort of tease of this character in early Perfect Dark history. But of course, as time wore on, we would see more improvements. Expert Gamer achieved a time of 57 seconds. Let's take a look. Expert Gamer, I'm sure I spoke about at length in like war video, war lore, or he made an appearance in the top 5 speedrunners who claimed records with no proof. It was War Perfect Agent, but at the same time, he was also an early sort of founder of the community. Another sort of one of these godfathers. No, it's so true, Penta, that Expert Gamer is a baller username. Because, I mean, it's such a... I mean, Endgamer, same thing. I mean, it's such a simple... cliche name. Like, no one would dare be called Expert Gamer nowadays, right? But back then, you could get away with it. Like, you were the expert gamer. There was so few people on the internet. No, it's an interesting story here from Punjabi, who was an early eliter as well, and is now one of the handful of guys who returns and chats in chat. He says that Sukram phone called him back in the day, around 2000 or 2001. That was super rare because, you know, back then especially, I'm sure all of our mothers would have been terrified to find out that we were talking to people on the phone from the internet. You know, that was like a mother's worst fear at the dawn of the internet. And, you know, to be fair, there's some sketchy people out there still, but we've come a long way. And it's not something that you would do because especially like cell phones weren't that widespread. You know, the guys who made the sites back in 2000 and stuff were probably, you know, teenagers, early adults, and, you know, you'd worry about your parents, like, looking at the phone bill and who's this strange man you called out in Ohio or something, you know, so very interesting stuff. Very cool little side story from Punjabi, you know, you get these interesting side stories. And, yeah, a couple things to note here on this Expert 57. I don't really see anything in particular that was better than Endgamer's 58, but I'm sure it was just a bit of a grind down, like, nothing is jumping out obviously. But the reason you kind of want to strafe the president, like we do to like Valentin and others in GoldenEye, is if the president loses sight of you. So like, let's say you were to run down the hallway right now and have this wall in between him, you'd fail the mission. He gets mad. He says, "Security! Like, who this stranger came and ran away?" That's what he says. So you have to be careful not to do that. You want to keep a line of sight between you and the president at all time. And so that's, you kind of strafe him, move him around. And so this section can be a little bit complicated, a lot going on. Strafing him, pausing to do the speech skip. And, yeah. And at the end as well, so Expert does 2 combat boosts, gets to the end here, opens the door, throws his laptop gun to turn it into like a drone, and then just waits here. I did notice for sure that there's a point when he really makes sure this door is open for the president. Like, he's sitting here. Endgamer through the laptop gun. I'm not sure that Expert does actually. But see, the door starts to close, and he knows, and he leaves it open. The president runs in. He gets the door, opens the door, president runs right in, bingo, bango, bongo. And there we go. 57. Great stuff. Let's take a look at how many people got 57 as a record, just to see. So if I go back here... Wow, it's actually quite interesting. 57 only remained the world record for about a week and a half, until it was improved by Discombobulator. Here on February 15, 01, the record was 58. On the 16th, Expert Gamer got the 57. On the 26th, we can see that 8 people got the... That's crazy that 8 people got this record in like a period of 11 days. It was almost a gold rush. But I mean, again, back then, I mean, think about how many people play a new release nowadays. Back then, this was still a fairly new release, and you know, about a year or two old, and yeah, I guess there was sort of a rush on people playing it still, which is pretty fascinating. Less than a year old at this time the game was. That's pretty crazy. Let's take a look at the 56. So Discombobulator was a future champion of the game, one of the first dual champion, only him, Boss, and Ace have ever been dual champions, which is pretty epic. And so, yeah, Disco was the top. He was the king at the time. Let's see if we can find anything that he did differently for 56. Still no audio. That's unfortunate. I was hoping for some audio. So there we go. Up here, there's another small president skip. Another speech skip that he does there, a very small one. And that was probably the difference, you know, the most obvious difference between his 56 and their 57s. I mean, this one just looks like such a classic VHS artifact as well. It's very cool. And so he's skipping the pause here as well. Opens the door. Probably steps outside. Oh, he didn't. Wow, he didn't even step outside. That's interesting. He just stayed right there. Uses the combat boost here. Timed mine. Chucks the mine down the hall. Opens the door. He's actually down early because a couple of your friendly guards spawn in here pretty quickly, and if you beat the friendly guards spawning in, you know, it's a pretty fast run, all things considered. These guards in white, they're sort of Mr. Blonde type characters. They have like a really weird auto aim where like you aim at their body, not their head, and so, but they have like shields, so it's really hard to pass them away that way. See, Randy goes down here, turns around, blasts this guy, enters this room, blasts this guy. Good call. Gets the sentry, because there is another guard who spawns in this area. Wow, so Randy stays down in the basement. This is crazy. This is actually really interesting. 56. Sitting in the basement waiting for the president. You wonder, is there anything you could do to speed the president along? There he comes. He's pushing him a little bit and enters. Yeah, that's a good point, Niall, that the Mr. Blondes are actually Skedar, who are the bad aliens. And that's a good point. They're Skedar wearing a cloak that makes them look human. And it's so true now because, you know, not to get too deep into, you know, actual UFO and alien lore, but the guys who made Perfect Dark, like, did their research, because there are sort of like 3 more common, like, actual races of aliens among people who believe in them on Earth. There's the gray aliens, which are the good guys in this game. You know, the big head, big eyes, the classic gray aliens. There are the reptilians, who are not in this game, but although the Skedar are kind of a blend. And then there's the Nordic aliens, who purportedly look like human beings, usually very tall, blonde hair. And I guess the Skedar and the Mr. Blonding is kind of a blend of reptilians and Nordic aliens. So I mean, the creators of this game really did research their UFO lore, which is kind of interesting. It's something I've always kind of been impressed by, you know, because it gets into sort of pretty fringe and strange corners of the world, we'll say. But what's not strange and unusual is this great 56 by Discombobulator. A great run. He really did it up, as they say. And, you know, this one would stay the record for 2.5 years. So it was a solid run. Let's go to the world rankings here, and let's type in like 03, you know, May 03. So 2.5 years later, this 56 must have been a good time because very few people tied it. A guy with the initials BJ, Buju, Sima, Carl, Mystery Man, Slayer, and Dark Slayer. I mean, it's really, really, really funny how generic the names were at the time. Like, it's really epic because, we have a guy named Slayer, we have a guy named Dark Slayer. You know, Perfect Dark, Dark is a it's like, I'm sure if you were to like go through popular Roblox names nowadays, you'd find similar sort of funny usernames. I'm just looking back at how kind of I mean, look, who am I just talking about generic username? But still, you know, it's kind of funny. Yeah, we need Perfect Slayer. We need Light Slayer. We need Slayer XX. We need Slayer XYZ. We need all this kind of stuff. So yeah, pretty funny and epic. Okay. 55 is it possible, for one? Well, what is very interesting about 55 is this. In 2003, a young man by the name of Greg K, his name's actually Vitor, he's a Brazilian man, would claim 55. He had no video proof for this 55. However, in the history books, this 55 is considered legitimate. He, you know, ostensibly got the 55. Back then, if you claimed a record and sort of had enough credibility, sometimes it would be acceptable regardless of whether you had proof or not. And it seemed like Greg K had that credibility. People accepted his 55 as legitimate. I do find that like incredibly interesting because there's no video. No video exists. And it gets even more interesting. Like, oftentimes, if you said, okay, I got this time, this is the strategy I use, this is where I saved time, and maybe you had one or two, like, buddies in your area who could vouch for you, say, yeah, I saw him get it, or I saw the time on his end screen, like, that would often be counted. I would say 03, 04 was, like, the upper limit of when that was the case, Jazzworthy, when that would count on the ranks. It is kind of unbelievable looking back, that's the truth. But here's what's more unbelievable. Another gentleman by the name of Dark Avenger was a British fellow. And he could sometimes be like a little bit of an antagonist, a bit of an edgy guy. You know, he would return every now and then in the future beyond this, and him and I always got along, which is perhaps no surprise. And who knows, maybe he'll watch it. If you are Dark Avenger, hello. He claimed 55 on May 29th, 2005. This is 2 years after Greg K's claim. At this point, 6 people already had 55, so it wasn't unfathomable that he would get 55. However, his 55 was never counted on the rankings. He had a photo proof, and again, we saw photo proof earlier. Like, here's some photo proof. Again, this link is unfortunately dead. I think I clicked on it, and it's like a weird... It led me to, like, some French banking site. That's whatever. You know how links go. Old links go. But yeah, he claimed 55 and it didn't count. And so it's so weird that Greg K's did count and Dark Avengers did not. Now, one difference may be that Dark Avenger was British, and so he was using PAL, whereas Greg K was using NTSC. And it was known that PAL was like a lot slower on a lot of levels. To this day, the current record on Air Force One Agent is 2 seconds slower on PAL than is on NTSC. And so I could see it being a slight stretch to believe he had 55 on PAL, but like looking back now, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. But it is certainly fair to point out the inconsistency that Greg K's 55 counted with no video, whereas Dark Avengers did not. Now, what would a 55 in this era look like? Well, I found the old video of Your Eliteness. 55. He was the third person to tie the time. Your Eliteness would go on to become one of the champions of the game around this era until he was dethroned by Boss. So he's a pretty legendary character in this game, Perfect Dark, and as a result, this legendary character, we're going to dedicate this run to a SpeedLore champion, Sammy Limex. A huge thanks, Sammy, for supporting SpeedLore on Patreon. I hope you enjoy and appreciate this amazing speedrun of Your Eliteness, Air Force One Agent 55. Let's see what a 55 looks like. And right off the bat, I can see that it's one of those situations where he was a PAL player, Your Eliteness, but this was on NTSC, and so his capture is like sort of split, like the top half repeats itself on the bottom. This was very common for PAL players capturing NTSC at the time. Let's take a look.
The President's room is on this level, Joanna.
Beautiful.
Who are you, young lady?
Mr. President,
So you
you're
could
in
hear the
danger.
speech skip
Trent
there,
is
which is
trying
really
to
good.
kidnap you.
You can't make accusations like that without evidence.
So he's probably gonna get outside a little
That you
bit.
have some.
This is,
This is a recording of a meeting between Trent and the other conspirators.
there you go. That's how this speech skip works. And of course, you can't skip every speech, only a few. So the early players really have to play around and figure out which ones were skippable or not. There's the combat boost going on. Takes a little time to mine, throws it into the vent. It doesn't have to be in the vent, it can be close.
Escape pod. Follow me.
You want to take out these guys. If you don't take out these guys, then they will shoot the president and slow him down. You're sort of running to the end, the president is sort of taking after you, but if you leave any of these 4 guards alive, they will shoot the president and slow him down. He can start walking with a limp, which makes him walk very slowly. And so it's pretty funny stuff. Open the door, turn around, shoot. Well, that guy was kind of in a bad position. You want him to be a little more on the right. Enter this room, shoot this guy. Let's see what happens here. Reloading. Is the combat boost on? So now this is new. And this is probably what Grey K did and told people about. He runs back for the president. And now he's pushing the president a little bit. This is helping him move on. He opens the door for the president, runs in, pushes him more, opens the door, president runs in, bingo, bango, it's Air Force One Agent 55. And so, my best guess as to why Greg K's 55 was counted is because he described this strategy. He said, this clearly saves time, this is how I did it. Other people saw me do it or saw my time on the end screen, because he would hang out with some Brazilian Perfect Dark players as well at that time. So like, I got the time, this is how I did it, I don't have a video, and like that was why it was counted. And so other players, like Your Eliteness, were able to go out there and replicate that strategy and get 55. And like that, you know, that I would say is adds to the credibility, because in an era where video sharing was very difficult pre-YouTube, you know, if you found a new strategy and you described exactly how it worked and how it saved time, and then other people did it and it worked, I mean, that basically proves that you were right, you know? So, proof of word of mouth. Which is, you know, very fascinating that these 55s, you know, took place this way. And, you know, throughout 03, 04, 05, we saw a number of 55s, 7 in total. Big Boss Man would get 55, and in fact, Big Boss Man would do even better than that. I imagine this is going to be, like, really a sort of perfect illustration of how to play the level, even sort of furthering this strategy development by YE, Your Eliteness, and Grey K. This is also a time when it was summer 05 is when Boss became dual champion. And he was really, really good at GoldenEye Perfect Dark. Probably ahead of his time, I would say. And so he got 54 seconds on this level in July 05. And I mean, 54 is sort of the... How do you put it with 54? How do you put it with 54? There were a bunch of times in that 05 era, which is kind of the era that like is captured in my mind, because I joined, Ace joined, Clem joined, Luke joined, a lot of iconic players joined the community at that time and furthered the community with their play and so on. And so these times that were the record in like 05, 06, 07, especially like 05, really stand out to me deeply. And this one is from that era. So it's, you know, maybe the iconic Air Force One agent run by Boss. And we are going to dedicate this run to another SpeedLore champion, 4-Day Bender. A huge thanks to 4-Day for supporting the series on Patreon, as always. A huge thanks. Let's take a look at Boss's 54 and see what happens.
The President's room is on this level, Joanna.
Such a clean speech skip.
Who are you, young lady?
Mr. President, you're in danger. Trent is trying to kidnap you.
You can't make accusations like that without evidence. I assume that you have some.
He's got the combat boost out. And so sometimes you hear this speech skip go off. I think we did in YE's run. Sometimes you don't. When you kind of get a sense of like when it's happening and if you are skipping the speech. You kind of have to
It seems
pause a lot more if you don't hear it.
I'm in your hands. What do we do now?
So Boss is outside the room, which might help. Whereas other guys were kind of more inside the room. So kind of a little bit of a head start that way. Not an immense one. Opens the door. Some shots. You often reload here, not because you like... You want to shoot like 4 more guys. And you have like 50 in the clip. You have the time to reload before getting to these blonde Skedars. So you often reload there. I'm imagining we're going to see quite a good President push here. Let's take a look. Boss turns around. Let's see here. Shoots this guy. Interesting, huh? There's something that I know is going to come up later. I'm kind of surprised at what's on this run. There's the President. Gets to him pretty early, and starts pushing him even earlier than YE's run, I think. All the way down the hall, really nice. Jumps down here. Pushes him back, opens the door, President's in, and baby...
I can't detach that tube from the fuselage. Can you take it out?
There's Elvis the Gray Alien, and there's a 54-second run. Beautiful. Air Force One Agent 54, a remarkable speed run by the big boss man, perhaps at his pinnacle of his... I mean, probably, I would say it's fair to say a pinnacle of his career. He was the dual champion. Hardly gets better than that, you know? So that was pretty good stuff. Now, 54 would remain untied for almost 2 years, which is actually quite impressive. Greg K would tie it in 07. Ace would tie it in 07. And then I'm going to show the run of Taka. I'm sure throughout all these lores, we will examine these Japanese players much more. But Taka was probably the best Japanese player, maybe ever in Perfect Dark, and certainly at this time. Taka's a legend in his own right. He became champion at one point, if memory serves right, and he got a lot of really good times. And it's kind of interesting to really think about, like, this guy who doesn't really speak the language from all the, around the world, finds this community, submits his times, I mean, it's amazing to think about, like, how that happens. You know, if there was some game I played and the only community that existed spoke Japanese or Mandarin or Arabic, it's unlikely that I would join and submit scores, you know? I mean, nowadays it's a bit easier because, you know, Google Translate is much better. There's all these apps and programs and ways to learn languages. But 15 years ago was much more of a challenge, and so it is interesting to, like, think about what motivated Taka to join and hang out. But he did. And he had a lot of good times, and this is one of them. He became the fourth person to get 54. Let's watch Taka's run. So we don't have the audio, and we're actually going to get into that in a bit. We have kind of some covered YouTube audio from back in the day. Okay, Taka has the president in a great position. This is actually really good. This is even like a more modernization of this run. This was October 09. So at this point, it's been 4 years since Boss is 54. Let's take a look here. Look how far down the hall Taka is. So Taka has even a bit of a jump getting towards the end, which is important, because the first thing you want to do, you know, aside from the objectives and shooting the guards, is getting to that last room so that the president starts seeking the escape pod as early as possible. That's what you want. Thanks, Jimby, for enjoying the stream. You enjoy the night as well. And we see Taka cleanly taking out these guards. Well, a couple extra shots there. They can be tough because the auto aim is like really fussy. The slow-mo like doesn't help the auto aim. Okay, here we go. This is what I thought we might see earlier, but here we see it now on a 54. You throw the laptop gun in its second function as a sentry. There's another guard who can come in and spawn late there, which like can troll you and the president. Again, if the president's running towards the end and gets shot by a guard who comes in late, he slows down and like you'll not get your record time. But that can take out another guard and help you get your world record speed run. And that's exactly what we saw there. So throwing that laptop sentry is very important. You know, totally Aviathex. It is interesting that Taka's playing the NTSC English version, despite being in Japan. I guess you get both versions. And it's kind of a Perfect Dark tradition to watch the entirety of the cutscene, which is funny. We can see here Elvis, the good alien, is trying to save the day. But the plane goes down anyways. Okay, 54. Great run by Taka on the English version. Very nicely done. And yeah, I mean, that is it's a pretty good strategy, throwing the laptop gun there as a sentry, because, you know, we saw a guard. There is a guard in this room. We can see him right there. He doesn't shoot him. He chucks the laptop. The sentry takes him out, and there's another guard who spawns from further down the plane, and the laptop gun sentry can deal with that as well. I mean, I guess I haven't even mentioned that yet tonight, but in Perfect Dark, all of your weapons have two functions, the main one and a secondary. And sometimes the secondary is like barely different, but other times it's significantly different. The laptop gun is one of those that's a lot different. And so that's what's interesting, is that laptop gun placement is very useful, but over the course of the future, we will see how useful it becomes. So, Air Force One Agent 54, Taka has actually returned and posts sometimes on Twitter, which is cool. And so here's an interesting series of tweets from Taka. And so there's this one tweet here from a guy named Jonaru who says this: I wasn't familiar with Western music at all, but in the old days, music was often attached to the Perfect Dark videos uploaded by foreigners. I got to know Green Day and Linkin Park this way. And he posts a whole bunch of videos like this. Your Eliteness Mayan SA-154 with Linkin Park Numb. Your Elitist Airbase SA-154 with Green Day Holiday, Green Day American Idiot, and a Crash Site PA-153. Yeah, it's really, really funny that, you know, of course, think about young 20-year-old guys playing Perfect Dark, uploading videos to the internet. We made compilation videos and just single videos with these songs. Linkin Park and Green Day were big favorites. But Taka here especially found, you know, he quote retweeted this and says, yeah, you know, like Muse and Linkin Park. I discovered these bands, and it's pretty cool. Pretty epic in there. So here's Yendis replying, and very wholesome stuff. And this was actually pretty recent, last month, May 2022. So pretty cool. We appreciate it, Taka. Nice stuff. Yeah, it kind of was. You know, Linger in chat says Perfect Dark was a gateway drug to mid-2000s emo music. It totally was. You know, The Used was another band that had a few appearances, and System of a Down and Rage Against the Machine. So, yeah, pretty epic. Let's take a look here at the rankings. Man, now we're skipping all the way ahead to June 2013. So again, that Takahiro was 09. Boss got 54 in 05. June 2013. That 54 lasted a long time, and we can see here these gentlemen at 54. Boss, Greg K, Ace, Taka, Cedric, Chuya. So that's three. That's the big three Japanese players in that era. Taka, Chuya, and Cedric. And Ilu also has 54. And this point in 2013, with 54 as the world record, is sort of the perfect point as the midway point of this speed lore as we journey into the future. So, what do we think happens next from here? We're in summer 2013. Perfect Dark is really not that active. Perfect Dark went through some tough dry spells. You know, 2013, I'm looking at the records here. Through the first 4 months of the year, there was only 3 untieds. I mean, I guess it wasn't that dead. In 2011, there was only 6 untieds. Cedric got 4. Chuya got his famous attack ship agent 206. And True Faith got Chicago Agent 14, which is pretty insane. So in 2011, you know, it was a pretty quiet year. 2012 was a little bit more of a pickup. Investigation Agent got broken, which was kind of cool. But 2013 was fairly quiet as well, and so we might think, like, okay, nothing happened yet. I mean, yeah, if we look at this is interesting in 2013, yeah, like, look, Ilu's Defection 5 is untied. You know, Defection SA is 30. I mean, a lot of stuff that we're going to get to in future episodes. Cedric has an untied sweep on Crash Site. What do we think is the least likely thing to possibly change Perfect Dark history at this point? Well, the least likely thing is probably me getting involved in Perfect Dark. However, in the summer of 2013, that's exactly what I did. I had a new setup. I finally moved, you know, out of a bedroom and into a basement where I could kind of talk more on stream, which is hilarious to think about. And so I played Perfect Dark, and I started kind of speedrunning Perfect Dark. I was doing some other games as well, but I was doing a lot of streaming back then. And so Perfect Dark was kind of fun. I was getting some okay times, you know, Airbase, Crash Site. We can see I got Air Force 155. And I was going for 54, right? As you do. I was like, man, maybe I can get my first ever world record in Perfect Dark. Maybe I can become a top Perfect Dark player. Wouldn't that be crazy? Now, it never really happened. But me playing Perfect Dark and sort of getting decent at Air Force 1 Agent was interesting. Because as I was going for 54, the world record with only like 7 people who had it. Someone was in there looking to speed bully me as usual. That man's name? Perfect Ace. We got in a bit of a race. Could I get 54 before Ace got 53? Well, my friends, the answer was no. Ace got 53 before I could get my first world record in Perfect Dark. What a tragedy. I'm sure this run is pristine. I'm actually thinking back now, I'm not exactly sure what he did differently than Boss's 54 or Taka's 54 at 53. But we may see when I watch the run. And this is a pretty historic run in Perfect Dark history. And we're going to dedicate it to a SpeedLore champion, FC Bojangles. A huge thanks, FC Bojangles, for supporting SpeedLore on Patreon. All this time. Ace got this world record on July 27, 2013. Let's take a look. Perfect speech skip. It's one of those things where it's not going to like harm you if you miss it once or twice and get on your third pause, but it probably loses a couple frames that way, you know? So we didn't hear the second speech skip.
This is a recording of a meeting between Trent and the other conspirators.
There it is. Turn up a bit here.
Seems overwhelming.
There we go. He again, if that door closes and the president loses line of sight with you, you fail. So he had to catch the door. That's why he stood in the door frame so it wouldn't break, it wouldn't close on him. And then you can reopen it and you get, you know, it stays open for a few seconds, so you reopen it, you're good, go down the hallway. There's your friendly guards. It's the first time I've seen them there tonight. Shoots them quickly, reloads, opens the door. Nice headshots. Opens the door. Shooting. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So this is very interesting. Ace only used one combat boost. Then he went into full speed here. And then he turned the second combat boost. And high res. The high res is out of the belief that it can help the president warp further out down the plane. It may or may not be a myth. But now he gets here, the president is here, and now he has, since he extended the, he had a few seconds of non-combat boost, now he has combat boost on, and he can push the president even more. Push. Open the door, in 53.91, Ace has done it, new untied world record. Speed bullied me away. Yep, here we go. This is very interesting. Ace writes, dedicate to all the guys that were watching me go for this live on stream. After 1554's Dark Slayer came up with an idea which involves using the second combat boost later on in the run. It helps with the president pushing at the end and saves about 0.5, which made this time more reasonable to get. Hanky SSBM says, this strategy modification is incredible, great job. So that was the difference. I mean, I actually didn't know that Dark Slayer came back. I knew that he came back and hung out in the community a little bit around this era. And remember, we mentioned his name like in 05, 04, getting some tied records. I knew he had come back in this era, but I didn't know that, like, he was the one to suggest, hey, what if you only used one combat boost? at first instead of both of them. It turned off for a second or two. You know, all you have to do is chuck the sentry, go in this room, turn on the next combat boost, and then, you can push the president even more. And I mean, it makes sense, too, because even, you know, think back to the 56 and 58 of Endgamer and Discombobulator. They were just waiting for the president at the end. They weren't pushing him at all. Boss's 54, you know, he had a decent push. You know, YE's 55. But now Ace is, like, really pushing the president along this whole wall. Coming back down here, opening the door. The president is still coming. He's now still pushing the president. Opens the door. I mean, this is just a much... We can see it's just a better strategy, but it's, like, amazing to think, like, wow. You know, this was, it just took a little bit of a creative thinking from Dark Slayer to be like, hey, I wonder if this is better. And a little bit of experimentation by Ace, and it was better. So that's amazing stuff. So a huge congratulations to Ace, and way to go, Dark Slayer, on coming up with that strategy, you know? Well, that is really funny. Linger in chat says, random anecdote, but it's a good one. Having surgery a few months back, his girlfriend reported to him that he kept trying to explain all the GoldenEye lore he learned from me to the nurse when he was on anesthetics. That sounds amazing. I'm just imagining the nurse thinking, like, what in the world? But that's pretty cool. What's less cool, or perhaps a little bit interesting, is that very, very shortly after Ace got that 53 and crushed my dreams of getting my first Perfect Dark world record. Ace got this July 27th, 2013. On August 1st, 2013, I got this run. I got my 54 4 days late. You know, the saying's a day late and a dollar short. This is about 4 days late and $4 short. But even so, I'm going to dedicate this run to our SpeedLore champion, Mr. Moxie. Truly remarkable SpeedLore champion. OG. A huge thanks, Moxie. Let's take a look at my 54 that I got a few days later. If only I could have gotten a few days earlier, it would have been a world record.
The President's room is on this level, Joanna.
And again, I'm not a natural Perfect Dark player.
Who are you, young lady?
Mr. President, you're in danger. Trent is trying
You know,
to
strafing
kidnap you.
the Prez is similar to strafing Valentin.
Accusations like that without evidence.
I'm in the door.
Assume that you have some.
There's the attempted speech skip. I think I sit here for like 5 minutes making sure I skip the speech because I didn't get the audible speech skip. I'm like really overdoing it just to make sure that I have the speech skip because I think it's a decently fast run for me.
Seems overwhelming.
Open the door,
And
do it twice to double check. I'm very cautious like that. Goes down here. Combat boost. Now I actually forget if I do the 2 combat boosts in a row or one at a time. Like Ace's.
We have to get you to the escape pod.
53, because I might have been set in my own ways and not wanting to change at this point. Bunch of shots. Yeah, paintball mode in this game is an in-game option, it's not a cheat.
Something's wrong.
So I try on high res. Okay, so I think I did 2 combat boosts in a row. because I didn't want to change my old habits. I didn't want to learn a new strategy at this point. I've been playing for a couple of weeks, I'm sure. But I turned on high res in hopes that it would warp the president there more. Again, this is still sort of a myth. The door was wide open because Trent came running in late, that's his name. President's there. I got a good push on the president. It's easy to get trolled and he starts spinning around and you lose time. But pushing. That was a good push. Down. Oh man, 54.48.
I can't detach that tube from the fuselage.
I mean, it's kind of crazy that I got, like, I was going for 54. Probably took a few days too long to get it, but when I did get it finally, it was 54.48. So it was all, like, it was a mid 54. But Ace had just gotten 53 earlier. Now, here's an interesting thing. Ace went on a tear in 2013 at this time, okay? We can see here, this is 2013. Funky Buddha got an Untied, True Faith, Cedric, Ace. Got all these Untieds between June 21 and August 8th, 2013. Do you believe it or not? But, there were a couple other records set in August 2013, but none in September 2013. None in October, November, December 2013. It was this insane drought that carried on and on and on for about a year. I'm scrolling down the world records topic now. Yeah, so on August 30th, Ace got a world record on infiltration perfect agent, 140.90. And it was a pretty good record because, all things considered, you know, here's Cedric posting, Ace is posting. So I think in particular with this infiltration record, Pelagic 2, there's the Air Force One agent, Special Agent, even got it. Was that only a tie? Was this 19 only a tie? No, it wasn't untied at the time. Wow, that's funny. Get untied or die trying. Wow, these insane untieds from this era. So Ace went on a little bit of a tear here in summer 2013. Here we go, Infiltration, Perfect Agent, 140.9. I guess the idea was that this level was like heavily favored on Japanese because there's an extra body armor or shield. This wasn't untied, but it tied... Actually, I gotta see who had this 140. Boss. Okay, so Boss, I think, had the Japanese version, 140. And so it was like heavily... It's a level that's very difficult to survive. And so if you have the Japanese version, it's much easier to survive. And so like Boss got the untied that way with the Japanese version. And then Ace managed to like pull it out, slay the untied, without the Japanese version. So that was a pretty big deal to get that record on, you know, English. But that was the last Perfect Dark record for a long time. Bix, Brandon Sanford got dual PA 9 seconds, which, like, you know, it's a cool time, but it's considered a training exercise, not the main segment of the game. So this was the last record in Perfect Dark for a year. We entered August 2014, and not one single person had achieved a Perfect Dark world record. Not just an untied, a world record, period. And so we sort of began coming up with this, like, in-game lore. Like, if we make it to one full year with no Perfect Dark records, you know, the rankings get deleted. You know, it's like turning into a pumpkin at midnight, right? It's like a fairy tale. So this was what was at stake. I mean, it wasn't really at stake, but there was a serious consideration that, like, the game was dying. GoldenEye was still, like, pretty healthy. Like, people were still playing GoldenEye. There was still untieds being set in GoldenEye. That's always been the case. You know, if we look at 2014 in GoldenEye, yeah, we see, a handful of records, Jimmy Bauer statue, Ace Control, the Cavern stuff. You know, some stuff was happening in GoldenEye. In Perfect Dark, no. I mean, wow, even my Streets SA was in, I mean, I was playing amazing GoldenEye at that time, in fact. But Perfect Dark was dead. And with the world at stake, with the rankings possibly being deleted if no one got a world record, maybe it would have been for the best, but I figured, you know what? Let's let the rankings live another day. Let's go out there in Perfect Dark and finish the business that I had unfinished. Let's get back to Air Force One, Agent, and let's slay Aces 53. And one long year later, my friends, I would do just that. After about a week of grinding, I got back in the groove. I learned the level once more. It was simply amazing. I was streaming on an alt, in fact. This has commentary, which is epic. And as a result, this can go out to none other, dedicated to our SpeedLore apotheosis. E Street was in chat earlier. A huge thanks, E Street, for all your unbelievable support. This run, you know, seriously but not seriously, saved Perfect Dark from the unlikeliest of characters, yours truly. It had been 363 days since the last Perfect Dark world record. I think I finally learned the 2 separate combat boost strategy. Let's take a look. And it's still a mid 55 with the bad president. Like, that's so absurd. I think I'm the only person who expanded the timer. And I did it back then. I'm still the only person to do it in Perfect Dark.
88-point time on the Elite.
I guess it's not necessary. Some people, like, their capture's so clean they don't need to, like, blow up the timer. But I like it. Bad president.
The president's room is on this level, Joanna.
Who are you, young lady?
Mr. President, you're in danger. Trent is trying to kidnap you.
You can't make accusations like that.
Oh, he's in a great
without
spot.
evidence. I assume that you have some.
I guess the bad president costs like 1.5 seconds, not much more. So what I'm referencing is that when you come up the stairs at the end, on all the runs we've watched, and all the ones we will watch tonight, the president was like in a good spot. Like, he had made his way through the level pretty quickly and found himself like near that kind of jutting out wall in that last lobby room. Whereas on the previous run, at the beginning of this video, you heard me say, oh, 55 bad president. And that's because he was like a sort of cycle behind. He was further into that room towards a previous door. On those runs, you're usually not going to get the world record. And so that's what I'm referencing there, and that's what I'm talking about here. That bad president, slow pres, loses about 1.52 seconds. You need to hope for a good president, which is kind of uncommon. Like from memory, I'm thinking it's somewhere between like 3 and 10% of the time you get a good president. It's not that often. Maybe closer to like 2 or 3%. So a lot of runs are just like tossed away because he got shot, he got trolled. We may get into it a little bit later about this level kind of being solved a little bit better, but yeah, it's tough.
Seems overwhelming. I'm in your hands. What do we do now?
All the way down the hall, that's a big difference now. You want to be doing that. Combat boost. Timed mine. So I paused twice there for the timed mine, because if you pausing twice to take an item gets it out a little bit earlier.
2911, pretty good. That guard better have fucking died. Rolling around the floor like some kind of asshole. That's bad news.
I was worried I would have said something a little bit more insane there back in the day. Some hits there.
This is really slow.
Really slow, but could it be good? Could the really slow run result in the Prez warping to a better location? Maybe? Am I overreacting with the slowness? Combat boost, step in the room, combat boost. This technique came to me in a hypnagogic state, which is the state when you are about to fall asleep or just waking up, and it was about to fall asleep. I didn't shoot the guard in this room because my plan was for this door to naturally close and that guard comes, chases you, opens the door as you're pushing the president falling back down the stairs. You shoot this guard in slow motion, which isn't too hard to do, and the door is wide open for you, so you can push the president a little bit further. That's exactly right, Linger. Source, it was revealed to me in a dream, or more technically in a hypnagogic state. Watch what happens. Go up here, open the door, turn off high res. The president's right there. This could be the run. Watch this. He opened the door, and now instead of now I can push a little bit more. Looking down. Yes! 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 It's all fucking over. The fucking drought's over. 5366. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Just as I'd fucking planned it. Just as I'd planned it. That's so sick. That's so fucking amazing. Yep. Yes. Yes, baby, yes. Holy shit, dude. 0.66 with authority. It would be the untied world record. There's a funny comment in this chat 8 years ago saying, "This is so slow. Goose in the middle of a record-breaking run, 2014." Very true. I'm really happy with that. I knew that was it all the way. When the guard opened the door at the end, I knew it was it. That alone saves like 0.3, 0.4. There we go. That alone saves 0.3. Pretty insane. The strat that came to me in a hypnagogic state. Time to make the video. I guess I'll play a little bit of Special Agent. Insane. What an insane time. No, it's exactly true, Sterling. Did I save Perfect Dark in 2014? Could it have been a mistake? Could it, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out through the series of Perfect Dark SpeedLore. Amazing stuff. Let's just go here and look at the world rankings when I got this time. Just to see the Ace and Goose on Air Force One Agent. We see it in GoldenEye. Like Silo 00, there's an Ace Goose. He's slayed my Untides. Maybe he'll slay some more. Maybe he'll slay my Aztec 00133. Who knows? But for a day, I slayed his Air Force One Agent 53. Feels good, but even all these years later, still feels good. That's for sure. So, pretty epic. I made a pretty epic world record post as well, which was like, a little bit silly, like I can be. But so it's like a drought. That's like a drought, you see, because we had a drought of world records for 1 year. No, look, August 30th, 13, August 28th, 14. This is like a Selena Gomez song. a year without use, like 1,000 years without rain or something. It's more drought. But now here's a plant starting to grow. And then here is Hillary Duff Come Clean. Oh, unavailable, embedded. And then a full grassy field. We broke the drought. We brought the rain back to Perfect Dark. And Air Force One 5366. It's amazing. And what's crazy is that it actually like reinvigorated a lot of like play in Perfect Dark. Like here now, you know, Carl's getting the Chicago records, Boss as well, Otto Oxman got Air Force One Special Agent, which hopefully we'll do a lore on that sometime soon. Boss got it too. Boss would get Air Force One Agent a month later. Otto Uxman got 53. And so, like, a lot of people would get, you know, Clem got some Untides finally. And, like, look, it started pouring rain again. All these records are October, September 2014. You know, there was no records for a year. And I got that 53, and then it just started pouring records again. And Perfect Dark to this day is as active as it's ever been. And that's truly amazing. You know, who knows what would have happened to Perfect Dark speedrunning had I not gotten that 53. Like, it sounds silly to say, but, like, who knows? Maybe the game would have died. Maybe. You know, I have, I got 9 more runs to show. I kind of want to show that Otto run, because he, you know, he's an interesting character to introduce. Let's just take a look at Otto's 53. So 10 more runs to show. I think we'll kind of start to cruise through them. We'll see a couple 53s, and then we'll go from there. Why not? We're here all night anyways. Let's take a look. Otto was a Finnish player. He made it into the top 10 at one point. And yeah, he was like the 4th guy to get 53. Let's just watch our 53. Probably be very similar.
Who are you, young lady?
Mr. President, you're in danger.
And, you know, because he was European
Terrorists
playing on
trying to
PAL,
kidnap
he
you.
was disadvantaged in some ways for a while. But got NTSC, got a lot of good times, got top 10.
That you have some.
PAL is advantaged on Deep Sea, which, you know, maybe we'll get into someday. There's a strategy that only works on Deep Sea that saves like a minute or like a lot of time, so like you need it for good scores. But yeah, I already got the NTSC here. Got 53. Let's see what we got here. And the speed skip is kind of crazy. Like
It seems overwhelming. I'm in your hands.
it can wear on you.
What do we do now?
25.96. That was about a 10th slower than my run. Combat boost, mine, chucks the mine. Laptop gun, really good look down and leg reduction. Takes out these guards. Reload. Open the door, chucks the sentry. All you have to do is step into that room. We've kind of figured that out now. You just gotta step in the room. The president, you know, starts running or, you know, even warping towards your position. He turns on high res, hoping the prez will warp. Whether it does or not, I guess we'll find out. And starts pushing the prez, baby. And you can see how he's starting to like twist to the left. He does it almost every run, but sometimes if you push him like too much to the left, he'll just spin around and you'll lose the run. So there was Otto having to shoot the guard. The guard did not open the door, but that was the late spawner who control you. And 5391.
I can't detach that tube from the fuselage.
So it's kind of interesting because it was about, mine was 53.66, this was 53.91, 0.25 seconds slower. That 0.2, 0.3 is roughly the difference of having that guard open the door for you, leaving him alive and having him open the door. So that was the difference, but it was enough for Otto to get 53 still. He was the 4th guy to get it. So very nice stuff, Otto. And I hope we see a lot more of him in lore. Now, a bunch of people would carry on and get 53 over the next little while. Like, too many to show. We will show one more, but it was becoming like one of the most commonly tied records in the game, as it had been throughout history. Boss, Green, Carl, Swiss, Greg K came back after all these years at 53, and Icy. Icy is one of the most brilliant Perfect Dark minds in the game. Scientists. He knows the level. He knows the game really well. He, I would put the three most knowledgeable guys about GoldenEye and Perfect Dark as Icy, Henrik, and White Ted. In in terms of technical knowledge about how things work in game. If you ever want to see if a strat's going to work or understand why some component of the game does this or that, I'd recommend those three guys digging into it for you. Icy, Ted, and Henrik. And in February 2016, Icy wrote this entire post about Air Force One agent, Special Agent, and Perfect Agent, modern strat guide. Now, it's a lot of text. I obviously can't read it all today. I mean, it's way too much to get through in this lore. If you're like a nerd and you really want to nerd out, by all means, I'll link it in the description of this YouTube video. But here's the interesting part that I wanted to at least check out. Ending on Agent and Special Agent. Start deploying the laptop using B and Z mechanic. Open the door as early as you can. Drop the sentry near the door to kill the guard behind the stairs. Heading back up, a lot of people like to create lag using high res, switching weapons and other things. I'm quite confident saying these do nothing and are only myths. That's very interesting. By letting go of full speed and lagging the game, it's no surprise that the president appears quicker. Instead, I like to use full look down the entire width of the hall door, because it's enough to unload the president in the next room. He can warp through the door while the other one is closing anyway. So IC has clearly sorted out like what's really happening with the president. You know, if you remember, there's usually between each big room there's like a double door kind of. So I guess he warps through one door, opens the other one, and that's how his kind of pathing through the level works. And he basically says like these high res things are all myths. They don't really work. He came up with a new trick to push the president in full speed. Do a circular turn at the corner of the wall, set you up for his path, saves about 0.2, 0.4 seconds. Sounds interesting. You know, like I say, if you know, I'll link this thread. You can go through it if you want. If maybe you want to get the world record. Definitely a recommended read if that's the case. And so let's see if Icy could do it up. Let's see if Icy can get the record himself. May 6th, 2016.
More about that proposal I gave you, sir?
My answer remains the same. I'm sorry, Trent, but no. I won't loan the Pelagic 2 to Datadyne.
Another thing, and he writes about this in the post, the reason he watched the cutscene is because the president takes one step in the cutscene which gets him closer to the door that you need to strafe him to. Watch for that one step again.
Have you thought any more about that proposal I gave you, sir?
My answer remains the same.
Right
I'm
there.
Sorry, Trent, but no. I won't loan
It's
the
like
Pelagic
that
2 to Datadyne.
doesn't save time, but it helps you get the president closer to where you need him. So it adds consistency, adds easiness.
Young lady.
Mr. President, you're in danger. Trent is trying to kidnap you.
You can't
Now watch this.
like that without evidence.
He punches a friendly
Assume
guard.
that you have some.
The reason he punched that guard is because that guard can get in the way of the president running now. And so by punching that guard, it actually increases the consistency quite a bit of the president being a good prez or a fast prez. Oftentimes when you come up from the basement, the president will be nowhere to be found, and if that's the case, he might have got hung up or distracted with that guard. And so that's a pretty big thing that Icy found as well. And so this really, in 2016, 16, 17 years after the game's release, was Icy really figuring out all the optimizations, all the information, taking it all in, and piecing it together on a speedrun.
It seems overwhelming. I'm in your hands. What do we do now?
Here we go. Combat boost 1. Timed mine. Chucks it. Opens the door.
Follow me.
There's the friendly guys. Nice. Opens the door. The double door. So like there was a double door, for example. This is the room the president, hopefully warps into. Shooting. Sentry on the wall. Hitting the door, interesting location for it. Bounces, runs in. So look, he doesn't turn on the combat boost till he's off the top of the stairs. Now, he can push the president even further. Even further. He shoots the guard, and now look, he can push the president almost all the way into the pod at the very end. Let's take a look. $53.83. And now that really was a great run by Icy, and that really sets up a lot for what we may see. Well, who knows? 2016. Could it be that this is it? Is 52 possible? Who knows, my friends? Who knows? But maybe we will find out pretty soon. I mean, that was a great run by Icy, really solving the level. And here's the thing, though. No doubt Icy is a very good player, very influential player, one of the top speedrun scientists. But suffice to say, I'm sure he would agree that in general, as a whole, he's not at that full skill of an Ace or a Boss or a Clem, or maybe even someone like a Carl Jobst, believe it or not. 2017, Carl was really playing hard. Everyone knows his Dan 52 was late 2017, but just before then, he was playing Perfect Dark. Probably his stronger game, all things considered. And he was playing Air Force One, trying to get some world records. He had gotten, 2013, he actually got like a dozen Perfect Dark on Tides. 2016, rather, like a dozen Perfect Dark on Tides. 2015 as well. He was kind of interested again. He's talked about it a bit, getting back interested into the games. Now that Twitch came along and made it more a social activity. So he's kind of thinking, what? Let's play. Let's get really good. And of course, we all know he was able to turn it into a speedrunning empire. And before his damn 52. November 2017, he was playing Air Force One Agent. And he actually grinded this for like a good couple of weeks and really sorted out a lot that Icy was working on. Let's take a look at Icy's run right here, actually, again. So, we can see he gets back up here. and the president is like at that wall, and Icy kind of like builds speed on this wall and then pushes the Prez. But like, what if there was a way to run directly to the president and push him even a little bit more? Could that save a couple extra frames? You know, and remember, even my own 53 was a 53.6. There was a lot of stuff I didn't do, like punching that guard upstairs, getting the Prez a step closer. So maybe, you know, Carl was experimenting with all sorts of ways to maybe save some more time. Let's take a look.
The president's room is on this level, Joanna.
Who are you, young lady?
Mr. President, you're in danger. Trent is trying to kidnap you.
You can't make accusations like that without evidence. I assume that you have some. It seems overwhelming. I'm in your hands. What do we do now?
Now, one thing I'll point out before jumping back is now Carl delayed the speech skip up here from the top of the stairs
The president's
to the door.
room is on this level, Joanna.
The slight benefit this has is obviously you're not breaking your full speed halfway up the stairs. You're pausing at the door, and so, you know, it's a place where you're naturally breaking speed already. And so this allows you to keep full speed right to the door and then pause, as opposed to doing it earlier. Now, most speech skips don't really work this way. Speech skips are so fussy and so technical, but this one does, and so that's pretty noteworthy. That's a little bit of an improvement.
What the hell was that?
Combat boost 1 opens the door, chucks the mine. He's playing Japanese, which is interesting. I don't think there's any like real
Follow me.
difference, but again, maybe him and others will tell me there is. I think a lot of the future runs are on Japanese. A couple shots there. I legitimately don't know what those were for, if anything. Really nice headshots. So this was really fast. Now, the faster you are, maybe the less far along the president will be. But at the same time, if you can get back to the president and he's a fast Prez, maybe you can push him even more and more, if that's the case. So there we go. In, right up the stairs. The door's half open. High res. So even though Icy said the high res is a myth for the president, look at this. Instead of running against the wall, Carl has found a way to bounce off the point in right strafe and then join left strafe and get a little bit more pushing in. This door is open. The guard comes to open the door because the sentry was on the outside of the wall. Really good. And now Carl can push the president all the way in to the escape pod. 51, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 52, 1, 2.
Oi! What the fuck? Holy shit! This is fucked, man. Oh, I'm losing my mind with this. This is seriously insane. Wow. I can't believe it.
He can't believe it. He's pretty pumped watching that one again. And no doubt it was a great run, especially, like, I remember him streaming. He might have been playing on all, might have been, I don't know, his main channel. But I remember him discovering this sort of way to get the earlier president push than even Icy had. And that was sort of the final ticket to helping him get 52. And, yeah, I remember it vividly. And, you know, he got untied here. Believe it or not, spoiler alert, although it might be like years before we actually do Secret and or Special and Perfect Agent, he would actually go on to get an untied sweep on this stage after getting this 52. He would untie Special and Perfect Agent. And so it was a pretty remarkable time, and then only a couple weeks later he got damn 52. So really an amazing time for him in his speedrunning career. 52.9, a great run, big congratulations, and iconic world record. And my friends, I will tell you this is where the world record remains to this day. This is it, baby. 52 seconds by Carl, November 2017, is the world record. Of course, we have a number of other 52s to show as you know, as we kind of leave off and introduce some new characters into lore, and let's take a look. Let's take a look. You know, what's an interesting tidbit? Certainly 2017-18 was a crazy time in the Elite. This is Kev B. He was largely known for being a top Tetris player at the time. And he got involved into Perfect Dark, especially, more so than GoldenEye. And we can see in the top right of his stream, it says Summer League 2018. This was a sort of thing that we had done every year since 2015, where you kind of draft a fantasy team of players, and then you add up the points they had in the rankings, some bonuses for world records, and see who wins the Summer League. It's kind of like a fun side league in addition to the rankings that we have. Kev was clearly drafted onto one team and became quite interested in Perfect Dark, and got actually quite good at Perfect Dark. Now, at the time, I mean, it was a crazy roller coaster ride in the community for many years, especially as more people got involved through the Twitch era. You know, I can't speak to the relationship now, but I know Kev and Carl did, here and there butt heads. They were foils for one another here and there. I feel like at this point in time they were actually on decent terms, but again, I can't speak to their relationship. I haven't spoken with either of these guys in a few years. But Kev was attempting to tie Carl's 52. And I mean, I think you can kind of see it. This is probably exactly what that's going to be. So let's watch the run, baby. This one has a lot of thrilled commentary by Kev. This was done in August 2018. I'm just going to let it play out. Let's enjoy this amazing run by Kev B. Really, I would say his first moment of relevance in Perfect Dark, which was a game he would become part of his gaming portfolio for a little while, moving from Tetris to Perfect Dark. Let's watch this really iconic run.
Can you actually turn faster when you're looking down all the way?
Have you thought any more about that proposal?
Does like your vertical position affect how fast you turn?
My answer remains the same. I'm sorry, Trent, but no. I won't loom the pelagic to today tonight.
Dude, that's the trick! You look down at the door and you can get a faster fucking... That's how you do it, man! That's how you do it. That's how you get a really fast start, is you look down through that first door. Problem solved. That's how you get a 4.4 door open.
Who's on this level, Joanna?
Dude! Oh my god! We're about to see some fucked cinema splits. Oh shit! Point... Dude... 0.36 text on screen. What the fuck?
I'm in your hands. What do we do now?
Mate, this is the trick. Oh, no, it's the all-time fastest. That's the world's fastest ever cinema split on this fucking stage. You cannot tell me anyone's ever had faster than that. What the fuck is that split? Holy shit. Oh my god.
We have to get you to the escape pod. Follow me.
Dude, I'm gonna get fucking 52 tonight. Dude, this run is gonna look so wild with all the looking up and looking down now. Oh, he didn't fucking die. Yeah, we're gonna get generated by that guard, but watch! He's gonna warp. Dude. Oh! Oh no, 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 no! Not on this run! No!
That was
No,
clutch.
you don't get to fuck me out of a run! Not this fucking time! No! You will not! You will not fuck me! Bad angle, bad angle, bad angle, bad angle! Yes! 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 No! Oh! Oh my god! I lost my voice! Yes! 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 It's over! It's fucking over!
He did it. He did it, baby. Air Force One Agent 52. Yeah, that was his first, like, big Perfect Dark world record.
A Carl Jobst KP time! SMKB! SMKB! Oh my god! Oh my god!
It is a bit funny and ironic that Carl then changed his Perfect Dark username from Sim Threat, which was SM initials in the rankings, to Carl Jobst KJ rather. So the initials is no longer accurate. I mean, that's such a silly little nitpick in all that run, but you know, amazing. Yeah, amazing stuff. I mean, Kev was talking about all this look up, look down stuff, and again, that's like getting insanely technical. You know, talking about loading and the presence location stuff. I mean, 2531 is a really insane cutscene. He was right about that. His capture is so good. He watches more of this cutscene than usual. You can see the Skedar plane goes and attaches itself to Air Force One, which is a scary thought. It's so weird. And yet, what happens down here is that one of the guards remains alive, which is insane, and he like clutches it out. Like, if this guard who he missed ran away, you could see barely ran away. He could have completely screwed the run by like causing the president to get shot and becoming slow. And so Kev like absolutely clutches this out, like no doubt. Like this is really, really amazing. Hits the you know, right strafe to left strafe pres push, and like, yeah, if to be pushing the president at full speed while shooting this guard is like very, very impressive. That shot easily could have like accidentally hit the president and you would fail. So yeah, totally yuppie, totally. And then to hit that guard as well to get his composure. He thinks he had a bad angle here, which you can see the president, when the president's starting to shift like that, it is bad news because he could spin around and lose time. But he manages to nail it and he gets a 52.88. Nails the run. Great job by Kev. Amazing. So huge congrats on this iconic record. And it was the record that really jump-started his Perfect Dark career. And he would go on to get a few untieds in this game before leaving for other games. I think now he plays Trackmania mostly. So he's the kind of guy who comes into a community, learns the game, it's really, really good, plays for maybe 3-4 years, then moves on, it seems. And amazing stuff here. Alright. I have a few more 52s to show, so let's roll. Let's roll through them, you know? I think nothing new is going to be found. Maybe a couple things that we can mention, though, that are interesting. So, Air Force 152 by Kev B, me and Carl Jobst, 200 hours, maybe 300 hours. It's over. I mean, that is a lot of time to sink into a level. But, hey, some people, I mean, I've certainly put that much time into levels, and you just get in the zone. You get kind of addicted, kind of into it. It becomes your quest, your personal journey. And he did it. He did it. Now, the next person to get 52 is someone that, like, no one would expect. Like, really no one would expect. And some people, like, really don't know what to make of it. There is allegedly a gentleman who signed up for the Perfect Dark rankings who goes by the name Fork. Who this Fork is, perhaps nobody knows. If I click on Fork's times page, he has Air Force 152. And, you know, a couple of other decent times, but, like, nothing really insane. And he hasn't played since July 2020. So, you kind of wonder what the deal is with this Fork. Nobody really knows much about him, at least as far as I know. He is kind of another Dennis Lucid, another Bo Beep.
Have you thought any more about that proposal?
He somehow became the I mean, think about it, right?
The answer remains the same.
So there's the presidential step, the one step up.
The president's...
There's the later quick pause or you know, I'm using all these GoldenEye terms. Speech skip.
Who are you, young lady?
Mr. President, you're in danger.
Allegedly, Fork is a southern eliter who has met up with other southern eliters. Well, that is interesting. I mean, the south of the United States is pretty expansive, doesn't narrow it down too much. You know, places like Kentucky and Oklahoma are sometimes considered the south. So who knows? That's a great little tidbit from Will Zelliver, adding it in there. I mean, Fork is just going to play it. Basically, the level's been sorted out now. But it is still remarkably impressive to think, like, look, obviously 52 was a Carl Untied. We know Carl's a great GoldenEye Perfect Dark player. Been playing these games for 20 years, so a Carl Untied is nothing to sniff at. And then Kev B's a great gamer. You know, we know he's a great gamer in every game he plays. He spent 200 or 300 hours in this time. So, like, 52 is a very, very... At this point in the game, 52 is an insanely good time. Yet this Southern American Fork fellow, you know, maybe had some Raisin Canes before playing this session. I'm just totally guessing. You know, came out here and also got this 52, which... You know, only 2 other great players had achieved by this point in time. Runs right up the stairs. Opens the door. This was December 2018, so about a few months after Kev's 52. And, like, I don't think Fork will come up in another SpeedLore, to be honest. He might, but I'm not sure. So it's like I had to show his run, you know? I had to show it, baby. Opens the door, shoots the guard. So that's the late, if you remember the early runs talking about this late spawning guard, that is the guy. Yeah, his initials are FO, which, like, what would be hit better, FO or FK? Like, it's just such a strange, you know, I love these mystery characters, right? These kind of lesser known characters, because it is funny. Look, the president's spinning. This is bad news. That's what can happen upstairs, and does happen most runs. So it looks like he turned off high res there. I believe we would later learn that's, like, not the best thing to do. Will Zelliver was explaining it to me earlier. But I think we'll get into that a little bit more later on. So when you can only see his end screen for like a frame, 52 for like half a second, and then he presses like A to advance. So that's pretty funny. It's rare to skip the end screen in Perfect Dark. Some people do it in GoldenEye accidentally, like clicking away, like you don't think it's the run. But Jimbo has done it a lot. You don't see it as often in Perfect Dark. And yet he didn't even have a Air Force One perfect agent time yet. So that's pretty crazy. Huh. What an interesting fellow. He probably opens that last door late because you probably, if you open it earlier, it probably closes on itself pretty quickly. Okay, so speaking of Ace, I'm not going to show this run, but he would become like the 4th person to tie this. Yeah, the 4th in March 2019. He says, his comments are sometimes worth reading because they're interesting. Attention all people speedrunning Perfect Dark. You must stream if you want to improve your time quickly. So many subtle tricks in today's strats, which you can only quickly learn from experts watching your stream. Thanks White Ted, Carl, Kevin, for all the healthy Ace tricks. Or healthy Air Force tricks. So it is interesting, like Ace here acknowledges, like, oh, he probably played this a little bit for a week or two off stream, didn't really get anywhere, and then finally the little minute things. And admittedly, I'm probably missing a lot of these minute things. So if you want to get 52, I would recommend you also to go and stream and ask all these guys who know more than me about these tips and whatnot. So yeah, very interesting stuff. Interesting commentary from Ace there. But hey, we don't need to watch his run, so let's move on. 2 days after Ace got this record, we would see Flicker Form also achieve this record. Let's take a look here. Flicker Form, you know, longtime veteran of the elite.
Any more about that proposal I gave you, sir?
Your top LTK and DLTK player.
I'm sorry, Trent, but
He watches the presidential step there.
Now, please.
No, and that's exactly true, Yup. He's like, there's, you know, SpeedLore, certainly, there's a point to explain a lot of the strategies, but to make it overly, you know, you have to balance the technicality and the story and so on, so.
Who are you, young lady?
Mr. President, you're in danger. Trent is trying to kidnap you.
So that's a great strafe by Flicker there. Oh, I think there is something about shooting that guard. He didn't punch the other one, though, which is interesting. It's so true, Yuppie. I mean, Defection 5 has like a 45-minute documentary you can do about it, for sure. Okay, so now he goes... Oh, now he punches both of them. Wow. So that's like the super strategy, is you shoot the one, lure him close, and then punch them both. The one on the left rarely gets in the way, rarely hangs things up, but apparently he can, and so Flicker does really the super duper strategy there, which is cool to see. that guard can be troll. I mentioned the auto aim there. It gets a bit insane and fussy sometimes. I think Flicker has one of the lowest 52s as well. And so that might actually give credence to his, double friendly guard shot in that opening room, because it helps the Prez move along more quickly. And look, he barely enters that room, which triggers the Prez running to the end. But that means he can get out of there faster. Interesting Avi effects. He's pausing a bunch here. I believe, whether Icy has written about it or not, I believe that pausing actually does help the President warp. Icy said all this other pausing and high-risk stuff is a myth, but I believe that pausing there actually does help him warp further along. It lags the game in such a way that he skips through the oh my god, that's epic. A 50 or a 52 sugar-free. Is it a 52? Because if that's the case, then I was actually. We'll get there in a minute. And so okay, so Para says that it is still a myth. Para also has 52. Oh, 53. That's unfortunate. I see sugar-free. 52.78 by Flicker. Amazing run. One of the lowest 52s.
Can you take it out?
0.78? 0.78. Yeah. But you know what? Myths, as we know throughout human history, are meaningful. So if something is believed to maybe save time, or maybe help consistency, these myths are very powerful. We've seen the end screen a number of times, but, there we go again. And, again, Flicker was the 5th guy to get this, this record. Like I said, Flicker's, one of the top LTK players. And Flicker at some point, and to this day, has the Untides on DLTK and LTK, which got in June. And so this 52 would set him up with the possibility of getting a quite rare 500-point sweep, which is Agent, Special Agent, Perfect Agent, LTK, and DLTK. Will we see Flicker complete that rare 5-stage world record sweep? I suppose we will find out in future SpeedLore episodes, but certainly a very nice run by Flicker. Very well done. One of the lowest 52s as well, so that's good stuff. Now, you know what? We're moving on a decent pace. I'm thinking this episode's going to be about 2.5 hours. So I'll show this other run because it's one of the other reaction runs. There's only a couple reaction runs. Unfortunately, Paracuzia has one, but I'm not going to show. It's a bit too aggressive, that audio. But Para does have a 52. It's a great run. But hey, I can only show so many things. What I will show is the Rixer run. It's kind of interesting to think the Rixer. This is 2019 when he got it. He's coming in playing Perfect Dark. Back in 2018, 2019, all these fellows were just these humble gamers. Me and Ricky and Carl, and look all this years later, and now look, he's got the verified badge, and we're all grown up and accomplished in our own rights in our own ways. So a huge congrats to the Rixer for 1 on all of his recent success, no doubt. And for 2 on getting one of the 52s with reaction. We know the level at this point. Let's just watch and take it all in.
Have you thought any
Copy to
more
clipboard,
about that
okay.
proposal I gave you, sir?
My answer remains the same. I'm sorry, Trent, but no. I w-
The President's room is on this level to us.
He has such good capture quality, it's insane.
You, young lady.
Mr. President.
Look how bright and visible the timer is. It blows my mind every time, honestly.
Things like that without evidence. I assume that you have some. seems overwhelming. I'm in your hands. What do we do now?
Did you see though how he carefully edged towards the ramp to get like even closer to the end? Like he easily could have gone too far to the left, and the president is out of his line of sight, and you failed the mission, and like you've kind of ruined a really good starting pace. So like that was like very, very like, for one, it's like not even super necessary, but like he's just trying to get any edge he can get on this run, which is very impressive.
No, you're good.
Alright, boys, I'm getting sing-song. You know what time it is.
We'll go ham on archives tomorrow, I think that's what
Randy, all I need is this fucking guy in the back to not be a coward.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck it, we're ultra early on this one. Let's go. Let's go. Get to my stream, Randy.
I'm watching.
Fucking 0.6. This is my... Oh, he's here. Yes. Oh, this might be it. Let's go. I might run out of boost and it might run out. Or round up. Went a bit too close. Holy fuck, dude. This might be it.
Go, man.
I'm at 0.5 in the pause.
This is it. This is it.
This might be it.
Go. Just go.
Yes! 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 Fuck yes! Yes! Yes!
Dude,
Finally, dude. Let's go. I fucking got it, dude. World record, dude. Fuck yeah.
Fucking nice.
T fucking R. Let's
Dude,
fucking go. Air Force One 52.83. That's fucking right. I can't even believe that. Dude, the strat worked. The strat fucking worked. The one where I popped the boost like ultra early and just went for it. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, dude. I should have done that from the start. Yes! Fuck yes. Fucking got it, dude. Yes! Fucking got it, dude. I'm fucking shaking, dude. I can't even post this shit. I can't even type. Oh, yo, Kaito, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. This stream was nearly 10 hours. I fucking got it before you say. Oh, yes. Holy fuck. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, sick, dude. Congrats.
Fucking amazing.
Wow, a 10-hour stream, pretty insane. A couple things that he mentioned there was like, one, he mentioned that he like popped the combat boost early as far as he's concerned. I think it just makes like logical sense to, like, let's say you're going for 52. I mean, look at the timer here, 42.71. So in a way, it's like not that early because the combat boost lasts 10 seconds. So like if you're going for 52, why not pop it at 42.7 or 0.8? It'll last 10 seconds and it's like the chips just lie wherever they will. I think is the current convention nowadays. But again, this run was, 3 years ago. And it's like, oh, if it runs out, then it wasn't the run. But like, why not just like hit it at 42.8 every time and then you'll get 52 or you won't. And then he talked about that guard being a coward. He wasn't. He opened the door for him, which is great. Now, I've heard, I was speaking with Will Zelliver about this earlier, and again, I'm not 100% sure. Like, I haven't played this level since 2014. But I've heard that it's better to leave high res on at the end, because something like with high res on, the timer moves in 0.02 seconds, whereas without high res on, it moves in 0.03 seconds. And so it's yes, the timer runs slower. Okay, so it works if the combat boost hasn't run out fully. There you go. Okay, so so that makes perfect sense then. So basically, the roundup, if the decimal is like 52.969798, we'll see if you can even get those decimals. And the combat boost is still on, you want high res on, because then it moves the timer slower. And so it's less likely to round up, or it never rounds up. And it gets pretty technical, so we'll leave that explanation at that for the night. But that high res switching is a bit of a point of contention at the very end to grasp that one frame of edge. So let's watch another reaction run. BK, and right now on the rankings, BK and Will Zelliver are sort of the second and third ranked players. They're really the top two players of this new group that came after Perfect Dark was saved, when it almost went a year with no records. This whole new crew came along after that. And BK and Alluring Fairy, or Zella, are the best of those two players, no doubt. We're not going to see Zella tonight in this episode, but we will see BK. And so remember BK here, because he is certainly one of the top modern Perfect Dark players, no doubt. BK was the 8th player to get this world record in October 2019. And he's one of the few guys with a reaction. And he also has a super high 52. It's a 52.96. So let's watch BK's run here. And so again, most of these runs will be pretty much the same here. So he only punches the one guard, which again is pretty standard at this point. It seems like getting the other guard like Flicker did is not super necessary. And I admit, like, watching all these runs, it certainly does make me intrigued. Is it time for me to return to Air Force One and go for 52? It'd be for no reason. No glory. No, artistic nor financial value. Just sometimes you just simply do something for the sake of it. And I gotta say, I'm a little bit tempted. So here's BK rolling through. I'm assuming by October 2019, all of the sort of Summer League stuff was over at this point. Let's take a look here. And these guards really can troll you. If you were to watch a session of gameplay, I mean, you hear these guys. Ricky said he had played 10 hours that session. They can run all over the place, run behind walls. You can't get them, then they troll the president. Wow, he's up here at like 41s. 42.7. Oh, I'd pop it, man. 42.8. Let's see. It looks like he's in some sort of college dorm. I don't know if there's a guy, a friend on his right. Yeah, they are, Yuppie, they are. He's pushing.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
Could this be? Oh, the guard's opening it. Oh my god, he's thinking has a chance.
Holy shit, this is it.
He's on like 49.7 for that.
It has to be. Come on, this is it.
Push him through.
Oh fuck! Come on, finish. No, god damn it!
No.
Oh shit! Oh my god! I got it! That was a .96! Holy shit! Holy shit! Yes! 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 BK world record, bitches.
No, it's funny because obviously this is one of his earlier world records, and you know, now he gets all these insane unties all the time. But obviously he's very excited about this, multi-tied record at the time, which is kind of funny, kind of cute, kind of sweet, you know. And I think this was the one Zella pointed out as like the boost may have expired, and so turning off high res was a mistake. I mean, it's getting super technical here. You can tell he thought that he missed the run. He thought that it was going to round up to 53. His boost definitely didn't expire here. Okay, so he should have left high res on. Basically, you add one frame to whatever the end timer is, and so with high res on and the comet boost on, it would have been 52.98. Without the boost going, it would have been 52.99, which would have given him a 53 end screen. He probably was completely unaware of the boost roundup mechanic, and I'm sure most people were until like recently, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure some people playing the level still today are unaware of it. So you can tell he legitimately thought that he missed it.
No, god damn it! Oh shit!
It's a really funny reaction. So that's the highest 52 you can get. I don't think the decimal can display 0.97 or 0.98. So that is literally the highest 52 you can possibly get. Amazing stuff, funny stuff by BK, and I'm sure if we carry on with Perfect Dark SpeedLore, we will see a lot more of BK to come. So, 3 more runs. This is the lowest one. It's by a fellow named Dr. Light.
Thought any more about that proposal I gave you, sir?
So he's going to watch the presidential step.
I'm sorry, Trent, but no.
Oh, so you can get 9.7. Interesting. And it gets to 99 with a high res. That's insane.
Is on this level, Joanna.
Who are you, young lady?
You know, I admit, Dr. Light, despite, he's been in the community a long time, played Perfect Dark. He got this time
I assume that you have some.
in 2021, February. He was about the 13th player to get it. He was recently attending the so-called Cute Girls Meet, which was a big meetup of a number of leaders recently. They had a great time there, so I heard, and it was a big blast. About 10 of them were there, so he's having a good time. 25.5, pretty solid, and this is going to be the best. I remember Kev had a 25.31 cutscene, and so the fact that Dr. Light here gets the lowest, I mean, we can start talking about that now. He's going to get a 52.73, and so if you stapled on Kev's start, which was 0.2 faster, you're talking a 52.49? How close are we to 51? It's 51 is probably still out of reach. But I mean, even the simple timer there, and I'm sure we could even assess timers at the end and so on, like at this point. But there's 52.49 with Kev's beginning plus Dr. Light's second half of the run. Let's see here. 42.83, 42.93. Wow, he's in the 43s putting on the boost. Let's see here. So his boost is definitely not going to expire. And I guess he was kind of sandbagging. That was a really clean President pickup. President is not twisting at all. Coming down the line. Doors open. Hypnagogic state strategy. pushing the Prez. He's on like 49.56. That's about as good as you're going to get. Dr. Light opening the door for the Prez. Everyone's playing Japanese, which is kind of interesting. Pushes him in. Is he going to look to the corner? I like how he backed up there. That was interesting. 52.73. That is the lowest known 52. As far as I can tell. Maybe someone has a hidden dupe somewhere that's even better, but yeah, pretty insane stuff by Dr. Light. Very, very nice run. And let's, hey, one more speedrun to watch, and then we're going to watch the tool-assisted speedrun. This one, believe it or not, you know, I made a video today that I put out about an old, washed-up speedrunner getting in a world record. And I won't call him washed up. But this is Big Boss Man returning to the game, getting a 52. All he has to say about this time is, nice time. That's it. Nice time. It's a nice time, boss, no doubt. He did it on Japanese as well. November 2021. He, you know, hadn't played this level for a long time and hadn't really played that much Perfect Dark last year. But it's a nice time. That's for sure. Para says that Japanese helps to see where you're aiming when the objective pops up. Oh, that's so true. Because the objective text is less big, or we'll take a look on this run. But we have to dedicate this run to our final SpeedLore champion of the night. Thanks for being so patient, our old pal, Soul O'Rock. A huge thanks, Soul, for all your support of SpeedLore on Patreon. Let's watch this legendary run by the iconic Big Boss Man, getting a Perfect Dark world record even as Father Time rolls
My
on.
answer remains the same. I'm sorry, Trent, but no. I won't loan the pelagic.
That's a really good and sensible, like, you know, it's not something I picked up on with the Japanese objective text, you know, being
Who are you, young
these
lady?
little hidden advantages
Mr. President, you're in danger.
that we'll take a look at
Trent is
here.
trying to kidnap you.
You can't make accusations like that without evidence. I assume that you have some.
So he punched the one guard.
Seems overwhelming. I'm in your hands. What do we do now?
29.6. So and Kev's run was point 3.4 faster.
We have to get you to the escape pod. Follow me.
Intruder alert!
So there's objective 1 coming up. How long does it stay up here? It might stay up for a while. No, it's disappeared there now. Oh yeah, it might come up sooner actually. Oh, there's objective 3. Yeah, so it's less text to get in your way to headshot these guards. Oh my god. That was brutal. Like, he got back, and that happens a lot, hit back boosted hard by the Mr. Blondes. Nice pausing. Let's see what we got here. Oh, there's the boost. Like, was that 42, 7 or 8? High res. Wow, he's pretty far behind the Prez. Like, Dr. Light's Prez was way up closer. Let's see what we got here, baby. Well, the door's wide open. Shoot, get back to the Prez, start pushing 50. Wow, he made up a lot of time there. Like, that was so clean. 49.4 there. A little bit of a worse angle than Dr. Light's run. Backing up. There's the Prez. Push him in, baby. Push him in. 52.78. That was a great run by Boss.
From the fuselage. Can you take it out?
And so with Kev's start, which was 0.34 faster, You know, Boss was only a little bit slower than Dr. Light, but about a tenth slower to start. This would give a 52.44 if you staple on Kev's start, all things equal. And it may not, all things may not be equal, like the location of the president might affect, like all sorts of stuff, but 52.44. And, yeah, so here's the rankings today on this level. Carl, Kev, Fork, Ace, Flicker, Ricky, Lake Demon, BK, Swiss, Dildonius. I'm sorry we didn't get to Dildonius's run. Maybe next time. Alluring Fairy, Randy C, Dr. Light, Para, JD, Fall. We'll get to Fall another time as well. Young up-and-coming Japanese player. Boss, and Matthew de Kerufel is the most recent with 52. A great pile. You know, it's become the second most common record in Perfect Dark. You know, Defense Agent is getting up there. Defection Agent is the most common. 5 seconds, so it makes sense. So, like, really, of all the records in the game right now, 52 is the most common. If you want to get a Perfect Dark record, this is a good place to start. But, of course, my friends, we can only ask one question now. Is 51 possible? Well, let's watch the TAS by Icy from a few years ago.
Have you thought any more about that proposal I gave you, sir?
My answer remains the same. I'm sorry, Trent, but no.
Now, if you had to guess, you have 20 seconds of combat boost. We know pushing the president is optimal. The longer you push the president, the better, as we've learned through the night. If you remember the early 56 and 58. What do you think would be the best way to play this level if you could advance it frame by frame with perfect inputs every time? Let's take a look.
The president's room is on this level.
Oh, he really warped in there too, which is like an extra little
Who are
bit that
you, young lady?
is just too
Mr. President,
insane.
you're in danger. Trent is trying to kidnap you.
You can't make accusations like that without evidence.
Oh, see, Sterling is
assume
partly
that
right.
you
The
have
president is out the door.
This is a recording of a meeting between Trent
Well,
and
let's
the other
see, Gander.
conspirators.
What's going to happen here? Let's see.
It seems overwhelming. I'm in your hands. What do we do now? What the hell was that?
We have to get you to the escape pod. Follow me.
So, he puts on the combat boost, and he is pushing the president the entire way. I asked Will Zelliver about this earlier, and he said he has tried this for, you know, a handful of hours, and on console it is like literally impossible. Getting him through the doors is so difficult, basically impossible. You know, it's only doable advancing frame by frame. The Prez is taking tons of damage, and you have to imagine if you miss your press here, the Prez will start like running in a random spot, pretty much, until you're here. Now he runs to the end. He's been hit. Still pushing him. Pushes him 48.9. There it is. 48.9 by Icy Speedruns. You know, it's one of those things where, like, the people who have played around with it on console say it's, like, pretty much impossible. But you cannot help but wonder, like, you know, a thought that I had watching this for the first time is like, okay, what if you just push the president for like the first 10 seconds and then like ran to the end and then put the second combat boost on? Like, could that be more viable than a full 20-second push? What if you even pushed the president to here and then ran to the end yourself? Like, would that be of help? And, you know, I'm sure there is a bit to be played around with. As we know, a lot of levels in this game are still there to be broken. You know, it's certainly less optimized than GoldenEye. And a lot of new strategies are still found in this game when people look for them, look hard. You know, the president it would be absolute hell to attempt to pull this off on a real console run, without tool assist, emulators and tool assistance and stuff like that. But who knows? 48 is the TAS. Is 49 possible? Is 50 possible? Is 51 possible? I suppose those pages of the story are still out there to be written by some intrepid gamer who comes along and decides to put their own mark in history. With that, my friends, a huge and magnificent thanks to everyone for hanging out and watching Perfect Dark SpeedLore, the revisit, the renaissance, the restart of Perfect Dark SpeedLore. A special thanks to even Ace and Zella for helping me whip this together. I kind of whipped it together, pretty quick, a little bit quicker than our SpeedLores, but I think it was a pretty good one. We really told a lot of epic stories and really got the general vibe of the level. And I'm sure you guys learned a lot of runs that you hadn't seen before. So very epic stuff. But of course, a very special thanks to these SpeedLore legends on screen. As always, a huge thanks to you all for continuing to support this SpeedLore series in all these forms that it takes. GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, DLTK, and who knows beyond that. So a huge thanks to all the legends, all the champions, all the supporters, chatters, viewers, all the runners, and everyone else. I think that'll do it for this episode of Perfect Dark SpeedLore. I really enjoyed. I hope we'll do it again soon. If you want to stay updated, check out the Patreon SpeedLore on Patreon or the SpeedLore Twitter account. I'll link that in the description as well. Once again, a big thanks, and everyone have a wonderful night. I hope you all have some nice rest. I hope I've put you to sleep many times throughout this episode. Thank you all for watching, my friends. Stay true, and I'll see you in the next stream or video. Good night.